contribution to our club.
That's right. At our winter silhouette, she took her money out of her piggy bank and donated it to our club. So any other guests here tonight?
Elaine?
Hey, Lee. David Skinner. Hey, David.
Welcome. Okay. Okay, we have Santa Anita show coming up at the end of the month. Mike, when is the date? Santa Anita show? Do you know?
From Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day weekend, okay. And then the next thing I know coming up is,
Oh, what time? What time does it open?
10
yeah,
to 4.
I think it's 10 to 4. Yeah, it's in the newsletter, but I just didn't want to look it up. Yeah, it's 10 to 4.
You didn't read it, okay? Just
Oh,
admit
I
it.
read it, I just don't remember anymore. Senior moment.
He didn't read it, not at all.
I do, I read everything, I just don't retain. And then Dennis Fukushima is having a sale up at Merritt, Lake Merritt.
Yeah, it's actually, he's donating his entire collection to the collection up there, and they're auctioning it off.
Okay,
Are they auctioning or selling or both?
Auctioning, maybe both. I know there's
Okay.
gonna be auctions for most of it.
okay. And anything else anybody got coming up?
50 or 60 years.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, he's got a lot of,
July 9th.
yeah.
There's another show.
There's another show?
I'm driving that.
Okay.
I just saw the notice.
Flying.
Orange Empire Bonsai Society, show is August the 6th and 7th. In
Okay.
the Sherman Garden.
Shooting Garden?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll put that in the notice.
Okay, and next month I won't be here, and in July I won't be here. Okay, so Peter's doing in June, and then guest artists from Puerto Rico. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Get your hands full.
Yeah. Okay, so tonight.
Oh,
yeah,
wait, we still got Christmas in July.
Oh, you doing Christmas? Okay, talk
Christmas-
about it. I'm
oh.
not here, so talk about it. Yeah.
So what we did last year, Christmas, July, just to get everybody back together. My house on July the 23rd, the Saturday. Pool party and then of course dinner and of course it's Christmas in July, literally Christmas in July. So white elephant
Closing optional pool party?
Yeah, we're
for you maybe. Oh yeah, it's potluck too. So and then we're having what is it? Bristol Cone Pine field trip. If you guys are interested, if you haven't been there yet, it'll be the weekend after Labor Day because that's usually when people are right out of school. The places are pretty quiet. So it'll be
No snow yet.
yeah, no snow. It's never snow right now. But leaving on a Friday and then actually going into the forest on Saturday morning. And then it's optional at that point if you want to drive home, you can do that, or you can stay another night and then drive home on Sunday. So depending on how you feel. Big change in elevation. We went there 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Geez, it's been 3 years now. So it's a great trip. If you haven't been there, see a lot of gin, a lot of shari, kind of see what natural wood looks like. That's it.
Okay.
I'll shut up now.
Okay. Tonight we have Yannick Kiggen from.
Oh, wait 1 second, please, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, your Ben Oki show also.
Oh, yeah, scholarship fund.
You're all thumbs, dude.
Press that.
No, it's your phone.
Oh, well. Lindsay had a message for you, but.
Someone's watching over.
Oh, here we go. All right, this is a message from Lindsay. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to announce your Ben Oki award?
Oh, yeah, I forgot
Yes.
about that. California Bonsai Society is, once again, giving away 2 $1,000 scholarships. It's open to anybody in the bonsai community. All the information on how to enter is on our website, californiabonsaisociety.com. The entry date ends at the end of this month, May 31st, and we'll decide and give out the awards in the middle of June. Anybody you can use the money for anything that pertains to bonsai education. You can't go buy a tree, but you can buy a tree and bring it to a workshop. You can use the money to, go to workshops or convention or something like that. And I encourage everybody to apply. It's not every day that somebody's willing to give you $1,000 to study bonsai.
In the bonsai.
So if you're interested in applying, go to the California Bonsai Society website and you'll figure out how to enter. Thanks, Shirley.
It's in the newsletter also.
Yes, everything's in, and it was tonight too, I got that.
Shirley's newsletter is like what everything,
Yes.
anything.
I can't say enough about it.
I don't know what not just this club, but all the clubs depend on Shirley.
I know. Hey, let me tell you, anything I get, I send it right to
Copy and
Shirley.
paste.
Everything goes to Shirley, and she gets.
Hey, whatever works.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so again, tonight we have Yannick Kiggen from Belgium, and he studied in, what's it,
Junior Kobayashi's playing.
yeah, in
Tokyo.
Tokyo,
In Tokyo.
Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, and this tree was donated by Bob Pressler. Let me tell you, I went looking at trees and there's nothing out there. So I called Bob. Well, actually, Bob texted me when I was at the House of Bonsai looking at trees, and I go, I don't know anything. He goes, I'll find something for you. I said, okay. Thank you, Bob. We really appreciate it. And thank you for the visiting artist program, because that helps everybody out. So, okay, and I'll let you talk about yourself. Tell us how you got started and everything like that.
Okay.
I'll shut up and sit down. Okay.
Yeah.
So, everybody, thank you for inviting me. My name is Yannick Kiggen from Belgium. I started when I was 10 years old. When I was 12, I studied for Baikoen Bonsai in Belgium. He's a professional over there. I worked there from the age of 12 until 22, and then I went to Japan to Kunio Kobayashi in Tokyo, and his museum. I worked over there for half a year. After that, I started my bonsai business as a second occupation, and I organize a lot of workshops with people from abroad as well, because I want to keep on learning. We're never finished with learning about bonsai, and that's for me a very interesting point. Does everybody hear me quite well, or is it a little bit silent? Yeah? Okay, super. So first I'm going to tell a little bit about the history of the styles in Japan, just a little bit short. Then I'm going to explain how I work on a bonsai tree or on a tree on raw material, and wire it and style it. So it started in Japan because in Japan they lived in a bubble time, and they had a lot of time to what's the English word? Philosophy? To practice and philosophy about bonsai and about nature. Philosophize. Yeah. And they started with what they called as the linear school. Linear is a correct word?
Linear.
Linear? Yeah, linear. So it was linear school, and these were trees like the bunjing trees, literati style of trees. They were very elegant trees. I'm now going to simplify it a bit and make a shokan style very small one, like this, more as example, yes? And there was a dominant line, and does anybody know what the dominant line of this tree would be? Yeah, it was very linear, so the height was the dominant line. They were very and these trees were very elegant. And the foliage clouds, they started off quite high, and they were perfectly defined, if that's the correct word for it. It's clouds or pads, what do you often say, or the same?
Same. Either one.
Same, either one? Okay. If you guys have any questions, just ask and I'll try to answer them. So, if
What's
I
the
know
meaning
them.
of life?
I have no idea. The meaning is of life is to find your passion and do something with it, I guess.
Enjoy it.
The linear, was this a time that they started? Is it called linear?
I call it linear because that's in my perception because the trees were quite higher. The volumes of the foliage clouds were also very smaller and quite high in the tree.
What period of time was
and
that?
it was about the line. I have no idea. I don't study really about the history of bonsai in that way, but only what, in my opinion, is very interesting is how certain styles evolved in bonsai, and not only in bonsai in Japan, but also in Europe and in the States and over all the world actually. So yeah, and they were a lot smaller. Height plus the line, is that correct? So after that they came together again about philosophizing about this, and then existed the volume school, and they looked more or less like this. And there's still people who shape it like this. For example, like Mogo Stamberg is one who used this a lot with very big trees, like sumo, fat trunk, sumo sized trees. And what's the dominant line of this one? The width, yeah, of course. The foliage pads or foliage clouds, how did they look?
Full.
Big, full, and here they were quite high, and here rather low, so. Okay.
Kind of like my belly right now.
Reverse taper?
That was paper.
Also, here you had a lot of open spaces and negative spaces and stuff like that. With these, you don't have a lot of negative spaces. How can I write it the best way? What?
Density.
A lot of density, yes. Okay. And then they came back together again and they combined these two styles. And that's what I call neoclassical school. I will just write down neo. And they look more or less like this. For example. So they were built up out of 3/3, yeah? So this side, like this. The first thing was the Tashigari. Does anybody know what the Tashigari is? Does anybody have a clue?
Is the spaces between them?
Tashigari is from your Nibari until your first
Yeah, the
branch.
spaces.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and what's very important with the Tashigari?
That, the bottom is like 2/3, and then 1/3, and then,
This is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
This should be visible. So you should see the first part of the trunk and the Nibari and the first branch. Because it gives you a flow or the direction of your tree if you have, like, if you work in a display. Tashigari needs to be visible. B-L-E. Yes. Then we have the other 2/3. Here, it doesn't have to be completely visible, but you can hide some places. Yes, to make it more attractive. A little hidden, or how can they say it?
Oh, that was fun.
And in this above section, most of the trunk is hidden. Yeah. Then there came a guy in Japan, and he started the contemporary school. And he said we're going to break the rules. Who was this guy?
Kobayashi.
Mr. Kimura.
Kimura.
Yes, Masahiko Kimura.
How many rules has he broken?
All of them.
And more.
He said
So
his own
the grandfather, or how do you say it in
Yeah, the
English?
godfather.
The grandfather. Masahiko Kimura. So it was very innovative. Sometimes he would say, like, if you have a very interesting branch and it grows in the inside of a corner, but there's a lot of movement and it makes the tree much more better, he would leave that branch onto the tree. So he would break the rules because it makes the tree more natural and more beautiful. And break the rules.
And then he broke the rules again. His own rules.
Like that. So, we have talked about this. Now we can talk about the way I style, and I try to think about how I can improve the tree. What I always do is I try to simplify a tree and make it more easy to understand or explain for people. So if you start with a tree, some other people, they wire the tree completely, and then they start to style. But then if you cut back a branch, you don't have an anchor point, so that doesn't work completely. What's the best way, or how do you start with a tree if you want to design your tree? What's the first step?
Find the front.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you find the front?
There you go.
Indeed, how do you find the front?
Pop quiz, how do you find the?
You find the back and the other side of the front.
There you go.
I'm only 50% right.
What's the main part that we need first? What's the first thing we check?
Abari?
Like some Dinabari, yeah.
That's the people that. I've been schooled by the pro.
Except for some species or styles. Which
one?
species?
Junipers and pine Hamadori.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, you can help.
Juniper
Yeah, come on, Brian.
plus pine,
Peter,
Yamadori,
jump out there.
plus Bunjin styles. What's next?
Trunk line.
The trunk line, yeah. So the Tashigari. So the first part of the trunk. Then movement and taper, yeah. Movement and taper. So if we've chosen these ones, we already know more or less which front side we will decide. So if somebody wants, they can come up to here and they can check what would be the possible front of the street. And you can come all to to here if you want.
It's your job, you're getting paid.
But
Rotate it around, let us.
I want to make it interesting.
They're not paying us for that.
Yeah.
No, I know. But you guys are here to learn, so. You're here to learn, so.
You're gonna break some rules with that tree, huh?
Yeah,
Come in front, everybody.
That's the back.
yeah, I would say that's the
He
best.
picked it. He could have picked anything on this one.
Should have picked a paper tree.
I did donate the tree, but I didn't pick it.
You can, from every
Not
single,
responsible.
from every single bit of material, you can make something out of it.
This
So-
will be in the raffle.
Plus, if we have these things, we also have other things where we can decide to take our front, and that are,
Branch placements, assistant
Branch.
branch placements.
yeah. And,
Yes, I agree, yeah.
Right there?
that wood,
Well, once he trims it.
and bark,
Once he-
okay?
once you got that,
So,
get the gym in.
what's the front? We decide, and why?
The other side's
But I'm
up.
presuming because you can see that there's a bit of nabari.
There's a flare in the bar
Nice
and
motion.
Here, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah,
And what would be the apex, or,
the top.
yeah?
One of the branches. Sorry, middle school teacher, hello.
When you have that gin sticking out from the back.
We got one here.
Here the Nabari is not bad, but
So young.
Here we don't have any-
Work, you asked for it.
Yeah,
from this side, we don't have any useful back branches or anything. So I have actually another idea what to do with it.
Turn it around and see the other side.
No, I like the line in this part. This comes too much to the front,
yes.
yeah? So
Oh, no.
I'm going to cut this.
But you wanted that one. This is a short demo.
Yeah,
That's the one.
so I'm already going to make that wood out of it. So we have decided what our front will be.
If he's done before
More or
he's
less.
15, he'll do us a table dance.
You guys together on this?
No. You don't wanna see me dance at the table.
I got 5 for you.
Bunch of singles, Bob.
Well, I don't know, throw it all in, and we'll see what we come up with. I've been known to do all kinds of stuff for money.
And it is now recorded now.
Hey, there's been worse recordings.
So, if we have all these things, what are we going to do then? We have decided what the front will be.
Find your first branch.
Yeah.
Clean up your first branch and get it squared away.
Not really,
No?
Well,
no. First, we need to have other things, or decide about other things.
Overall height of your tree.
The angle. Sometimes you have a very interesting movement into the trunk, and you still have a piece of trunk that goes a little bit to there, so we need to check our balance. Our tree need to spin around its axis, like the world does. But this is something what you can do like how do I say it? In a composition or in a tree. Like for example, how can you make balance in a composition? there's a tree like Ryan, everybody here knows Ryan Neal, more or less. He has a very famous juniper with a lot of deadwood that's going downside. How does he make balance into this composition of this tree?
I think the bar has to be symmetrical with the apex, so we're kind of like.
That's a balance in the tree, but you don't always have that. I can explain with another version, like you have slanting style, shotgun style, you know, that goes like this. There's a little bit too much, and you have the old school slanting style. How does the old school slanting style look like?
The first branch is on the opposite this slant.
Here, and quite low. This is too much, so should go like this, so, like this, yes. And these branches also go very far and like that. How do the branches on this side look?
Shorter.
Yes, and
Shorter and
More horizontal.
more horizontal, yeah? If Kimura would do this style, he would place the first branch here. How do you create balance into this one?
Negative space.
Sorry?
Negative space.
Negative space, yes, definitely. So he would have his first branch over here, and he would have negative space here, and a very heavy counterbalance branch. Sometimes also in the use of a big pot or something like that. The juniper I was talking about of Ryan Neal, because you have Taiga. Taiga was a student of Kimura and Ryan Neal as well. But they play with balance in a whole other level. Ryan does it a lot with creating balance in the composition. Like if he has a slanting tree, he uses a bigger pot, or he uses like, he has this juniper, maybe I don't have any network. He uses balance in the composition by using a bigger pot, but the deadwood is not growing, but is tilted over the pot. And the deadwood and the live parts, if you have a diagonal line, they are half and half. How do I?
Symmetrical.
Symmetrical, yeah.
So where do you find the center?
Sorry?
Where do you find the center of the balance? So everything is kind of.
The Nibari is, how do you need to explain? So the Nibari is in front of the Nibari and the apex are in the middle of each other. But the foliage is more on that side and the deadwood is more on that side. So that's creating balance into the composition. Is that understandable?
Yeah, I
More or
understand.
less?
I mean, I guess that's why he can adjust the branches, right? Just to keep everything balanced on the left or right of the tree.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so balance. Then if we have chosen our balance, but this movement is quite nice, and we still can grow certain parts on this tree. So what I wanted to do is, now I'm going to work on the deadwood a little bit, but
So which school are you?
it's cool.
Are you favorite?
I really don't have any favorites because there are like a lot of different schools and how some make the foliage clouds, for example. Some make them like this. I do a lot as well because in my opinion this is more dynamic, and if you have a tree that's very dynamic, it suits better. But some also make them like this. It's quite static. It's not wrong or right, both, neither are wrong or right. It's just a certain school in Japan or in Europe or as long as the technique that they've done is good, then there's no any issue in my opinion. You also have foliage clouds that they design like this. But it's all another level. Sometimes you see foliage clouds where you can see the branch structure quite high, and it's the perception of what people want to explain. Like if you are close to a big tree and you look at like that way, then you can see the branches from beneath. But if you, yes?
So for a juniper, like the one you have there, are you able to accomplish all those kinds of patterns?
Like different styles of pads in one tree.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mix this one with that, but I have seen in Japan trees where the first branches, you didn't see the branches, but you see the line of the foliage. And when you went up, the branches were growing more up as well. So you could see that. So they wanted to give a perception that you look more into the tree and from above, you know? So if you see the branches a lot and in the full tree as a complete, then they want to give you the perception that you're looking to a very big tree, or that you're standing close to a very big tree. And if you only see the outer line of the foliage and you don't see the branches, then they want to give the perception that you're maybe on a mountain and you look downwards to a tree, like bird's perspective. But there are things that I try to look and understand, but sometimes it's difficult because everybody has another feeling about what is natural and what's not. So there are a lot of different styles and opinions about something.
You can only look, what one's right?
There is no right or wrong in my beliefs. As long as if you've done the technique quite well, why would something be wrong or right? You need to look in nature on what feels best with that tree. A tree will tell you where you need to go. I think this was a quote of John Naka. I have it on my t-shirts. So no, but normally a tree will tell you what you need to do. Some deciduous trees will tell you like it's better to do a Japanese style type of tree, and some deciduous trees will tell you to go for more natural style with the branches going up. Like there's in Japan a guy, Shimizu-san. Does anybody know them? They have like big root spreads, big nibaris, because he gives 7 or 8 or 9 times water a day, and he has like his branches are not like typical Japanese or typical classical like this, but more like very curly and going up, and very natural and following the same line and fanning out, more like that. It's a matter of taste and what suits best with the tree, I guess. So I'm working now on the deadwood of this one. When we have found or worked on the axis of our tree, we have bent the trunk so that the movement is better and the tree is in balance. What's next? There's also another thing what we need to take care of, and that's how does the tree need to go, in what direction does the tree need to go from the opponent that looks at the tree. Does anybody know that?
So repeat the question?
What direction does the tree need to go if an opponent is looking at the tree?
Toward the viewer.
Sorry?
Toward the viewer.
Towards the viewer, yeah. Some people have seen or went to Kokofu in Japan, here. Yeah? How far, if this is the line and you're looking to here, do these trees go a little bit like this or much more? I've seen a lot of trees who were like this, and the branches also need to welcome you like this, so that's also very important to have with a bonsai tree. In my perception, this was a little bit too much because I had to look like this to the tree because they were coming a lot to the front.
Well, because it's a 5'2" person that designed it, you're 6 foot.
That's a possibility. So So I try to design them less like this, but more like that.
Hey, it's perfect height for me, what are you talking about?
We're gonna have to lay down.
So that's also an important thing, in my opinion. Then what's next? Can we start to work on our tree?
You already did.
Yeah, but I mean,
Then you start thinking about branch placement.
yes. And then we start with our Tashigami, and that means that the first trunk needs to be, the first part of your trunk needs to be visible. Is that true? Yes. And the first part would be 1/3 of our tree. So in this outer corner somewhere should be a branch that we need to use. This one is a little bit too thin, so this one we can cut. This one is also not usable. I will not have a lot of words. I will try to talk a little bit more. Can we use this one?
No, it's on the inside of the curve.
Okay.
But don't break
The-
You can break the
Yeah, but,
You already break the
but-
rule, there you
yeah, we could break the rule, but this branch is
Very
not
good, Robert.
really beautiful and important, and it doesn't add any value to it.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it.
They don't have a lesson. How to make a
What?
bonsai
What
out
about
of
using
branch.
it
Sorry?
What about using it as an anchor wire?
And I don't need an anchor wire for something like this, because I have the branches up top here, so not really necessary. So, which one could I use then? This one?
Well, that's the only one you got left, right?
Or maybe this one is also still a possibility, but this one is quite nice, yeah.
It's lower.
So,
Wait, is the first branch always the lowest branch, or is it the most important branch?
the first branch is always the lowest branch, but not the most important one. So, because sometimes the most important branch can be here if it has a lot of movement and goes to a certain flow, but that depends. So, we have found this branch. The first part needs to be visible, so this one we can bend when I'm finished with the deadwood, we can bend. And how I work is I always first put the first branch, the primary branch, into position. And I do that by wiring it first, because a lot of people, they are going to clean certain branches. Like the branches that grow down, you will clean. But sometimes the most important branch is growing like that. And these branches are growing up and down. If I want to follow, because I always accentuate the trunk line, so this branch will follow the trunk line and go out. And the branches that were growing up and down, and if I want to follow the line of my body for this case, these branches that were growing up and down are now going sideways or lateral. Is that the correct word? So if I already would have cleaned these off, then that wouldn't be completely correct. Okay? So I will first wire this one. And I try to use not more than 2 wires on a branch. It's better to simplify and not use too many. Okay? So this branch needs to go to this direction, yes? It needs to come to the front. If this one needs to go to there, in what direction do I need to wire it? And it needs to go down as well, yes? Over the top and this side or that side?
Oh, there's, yeah, opposite side.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And while you're wiring it, it's also important that you already bend it to the front. So not wire it and then bend it, but try to bend it a little bit already before you. What I also do is I always wire until the end of the branch. So I start here And here I have another branch that has the same size, but here's also a small jit that I can remove. So I can do this. And do that. Okay. So if I'm wiring this branch to that side, I need to use, what's the right word for it? What?
Counterclockwise?
Counterclockwise, yeah. Because we need to have, not traction, but
Compression.
pressure. Because pressure is our enemy and our friend. If we use pressure while wiring, it's possible to bend our branches in the right way that we want them, yeah? If we go too far, we snap them, so that's why it's our enemy, but that's something we can feel, so.
You feel it when it goes crack?
Well, it's that first crack's all right, it's the second one you gotta worry about.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Crack, one thing, snap is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trees are all full of water. Give it a little bend and it goes.
So, and I work my way from bottom to top. So I always start working with the first branch. And if I have put this one into the right position, what's next?
Start making your pads?
Hmm?
Start making your pads?
If this one is into the right position, I will start cutting back branches that are not necessary, or cleaning the growth that's growing down. So, let me have a look. If this branch is in the right position, what do I need to look for afterwards? I need to have branches that are alternating.
Yeah, clean off all the bottom stuff and then go alternating branches.
Yeah. And why do I need these, or why would I want to have my branches alternating?
Balance?
Well, no, taper.
What?
Taper.
Taper as well, but you will not always have taper. Sometimes you need to work on that taper. It's because bonsai will grow out. Like, for example, you have a primary branch and it gets this movement. But I will explain it a little bit different with this one. I see every style and every branch as a Miyogi, if I try to simplify. Because what I try to do is I try to make bonsai easier than it is. So if we have a Miyogi, or what's the other name in English? Informal upright. And we have a very dramatic tree that goes a lot to that side, yes? Then we have a corner here, and in this corner we always have a first branch, no?
Curve, next one.
Ah, curve, yes, sorry. Where should the next curve be?
The other side.
Half of that.
On the other side.
On the other side, yes, but where? Where on the other side?
Half the length of the first one.
Huh?
A third?
On the half of this one. It should be half the size of this one, so more or less here. But it should be like this curve, this part should be more or less the same like this one, because it grows like that in nature, more or less, yes? If we simplify it, so then with this one, where should the next curve be?
Half the size of that?
Half the size of this one, yes. Okay, and on every side we have branches, okay? If this would be the thickness of my thumb, like this big, how big would this one be?
Half the size?
Half the size, yes, so taper is very important. If I use my Miyogi tree or informal upright, and I would be a trunk and I would now be a branch, would it look the same more or less?
It would.
It would, yes, definitely. So this would be our, because if we have a branch, we need to give a movement from up and down, so like this, more or less, or like the same shape of the trunk. We need to have continuation from every branch as well. So if you have placed this branch, other branches need to have more or less the same movement. Yes, up and down and yes.
I just have a question on like intentions for this kind of like style of tree, like this age group. When you come up to work with something like this, what are you accomplishing like horticulturally versus like aesthetic? Because one of the problems I have with
Yes.
this kind of tree is seeing, oh, do I need to develop or do I need to just style it to like be perfect?
You can do it both. You can make the styling more perfect because it will be more healthy for the tree. That's why I'm talking about simplifying, because you need to use less wire, because I will not wire this tree completely in a degree. That's why I'll use the alternating branches. So wait, I will show you. This branch, we will follow the same movement, and this one as well. So now we have one primary branch and it splits into two. Here it splits into two as well. Yes? And that's how we develop a tree. We have primary branch, it goes into secondary branches, yes? And this one is already wired. And then here are some shoots, but these shoots are still too young to wire. So I only need to wire that one and that one. And these shoots I can support with my wire because I will use, how do I call it? Here. If this would be my branch, and here I have another branch that is too small to wire, I will do something like this, and then cut it here, and it would support it. And I already made my foliage cloud, yes? So horticulture, that would already be better for a tree. Also for junipers, it's better to be wired and to lift the foliage up because it's more healthy for the tree than foliage that grows unhealthy and down. So both aspects are important. Afterwards we can discuss about what the aftercare would be and stuff like that. Yes? Is that more or less what you wanted to know, or?
Yeah, I mean, that was very good. There's plenty of questions.
Yeah, you can ask them. Ask as much as you want, so. Anything else? Huh?
We're intimidated.
What? By what?
We're intimidated.
Why? Why?
You know lots of things.
No, not that much.
Just different.
Everybody knows. I can learn from everybody, and that's what I think is very interesting about bonsai. So, I will have a look to this branch. Okay. So now,
You just say you just did a Kimura branch?
what?
Did you say you just did a Kimura branch?
Why? Oh, so?
Well, it looks like the first branch comes out from the back.
Ah, yeah, it does. But that isn't necessarily a Kimura branch, in my opinion, but maybe in yours it is. So, if anybody wants to come up, I want to show you what I will cut, because now I'm going to choose for the alternating branches. Yes, I choose a first branch here, I have one over here, these ones are on the same side. But what I also think is interesting is, if I have a let me show you. I start with the first branch, and what I always do when I make a first branch is I divide them into 3 foliage clouds with open spaces. So if this is my first branch, I have a foliage cloud here, one here, and one here. And I have open spaces here all around, yes? When I finish with this branch, I will go to my counterbalance branch. And that will look more or less like this. These volumes are smaller, are more defined, and the negative spaces are closer together. And if I go more up, if I go in an upward direction of the trunk, these spaces and these foliage clouds get smaller as well. So if this would be the apex, but I don't have the space right now, I would make them even smaller and closer together and divide them into single foliage clouds except here into 3 and there into 2. Do you understand more or less? Yeah, okay.
Question.
Yes.
Something that I struggle with is the balance element, because I've learned the, I guess, Occidental version of balance, where everything is like scales, which
Yeah.
doesn't really apply very well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you plan to do with that? Just in broad terms, what do you plan to do with that in order to get that balance so that it is more of, pardon me if I offend anybody, more of an Asian balance than the typical Occidental balance? Like, can you show me with your hands what you're gonna do with that? Like, this is gonna be big, that's gonna be small down here?
And on this tree?
Yes.
Um,
Where's it gonna go?
So what I would do is I would divide this one into, but that really doesn't have anything to do with balance, I guess. But here we have to divide into a bigger foliage cloud, like this size. And here we can divide into another. And in the future we can add a third one over here. Yes. Then we have a back branch over here because we need to see depth.
And so that, where your left hand is, that's gonna be the heavier side in order to counterbalance the two smaller sides?
Yes, this one, for example, we can bend down and we can create a counterbalance branch here.
Okay.
But this tree is already into balance, so it's actually already visible how the tree will be styled. So, yeah.
I think your question will probably get answered easier once he moves along, because you'll see.
I think so too, but I was hoping to see it before it got to that stage, so that I might see it in another tree if I was playing with it.
Okay. But balance is something you need to make before you already style it, you know? Or sometimes after if you need to use a bigger pot or something, but in most cases, balance is something you already do because your apex needs to be in the middle at the same thing as your Nibari, more or less. But there are some,
Same line.
what?
Follow the same.
Yeah, follow the same line.
Yeah.
But there are some bonsai styles, even in Japan or in Europe, where the first branch goes to there, the trunk goes to there, and they say the apex needs to go to there as well. But then you make balance with a heavier pot, with a bigger pot. So that's the difference, more or less. There is no right or wrong as long as the technique is done
See me
properly.
trying it.
What? That's why I say if the technique's done well. So, any more other questions? No? Where's the?
For the orange one? There?
The cutters. Doesn't matter.
Gotta be right there.
So, this branch I can use as one foliage cloud, and this one, okay? What I'm going to do is, I'm going to make them alternating. So I have this one here. Does anybody see this, everybody? Yeah? Okay. This one I have here, then the next one, here are 1, 2, 3. Which one should I cut and which one should I use? And why? This one?
Closest, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, super.
It's on the same side.
And this one can go as well, because this one is bigger. Okay. Then the next one is this one, and this is the continuation, or should become the continuation of this branch. Okay. So now what I can do is I can wire this one together with this one.
Yes.
And I can wire this one with this one. So I only used 3 wires to completely style and shape and wire my first branch. Okay? That's why I want to simplify and make bonsai easier. It's cheaper because you need to use less wire. That's, well, for a commercial aspect, not so good for me, but no. And what?
It is for me.
Yeah.
Wire.
Yeah, by the way, Bob supplied the copper wire. Thank you.
So, most people say you cannot, like, that you cannot cross your wire, but sometimes when I always take the ones that shortest together to each other, but if this branch would be here, I had to cross, yeah? So actually it's no problem to cross as long as you don't do it too often, and as long as you do it only with the small wires, so it's actually no problem, okay? In this case, I don't need to do it.
So I've been doing it right.
Or if you're not showing the tree.
Yeah.
As well. Here you can see that I have a bunch of other branches, but if I need to wire them with smaller wire, it would be almost impossible. So I make like a curl, and that will support all these tiny little branches that are very fragile.
Yes.
And if I cut them here, I have this branch here that's growing beneath. I can plug this one away. This one is possible to wire with maybe a smaller one. If here would be one longer wooden branch, I don't need to wire that as well, because this one I would have made longer and it would have supported that branch as well.
Okay, we'll take a little break,
Yeah, of course.
and then, Greg's got raffle tickets back there. Like I said, that tree's gonna be in the raffle. So come up, take a good look at it, and see what he's doing. Can we get you anything? Yannick, can we get you anything?
No, I still have more. Thank you.
Can you see this? What's the typically your tree or your fully responsible for it? What would be your kind of comfort versus like maybe what demo?
I would do the same thing if it would be my tree. I always try to think in a way that it would be my tree and it would be most profitable and most healthy for the tree as well. If you understand.
Yeah, of course. I didn't mean it.
Oh no problem. No. I have a lot of students who work on this type of material as well. So, and they buy it from somewhere, so the tree needs to stay healthy. That's very important, otherwise I will lose a customer as well. So.
Thank you.
No problem.
After
Yeah? Oh, that's a pity. Are you already doing bonsai for a long time?
like 4 years, but it's mainly just growing trees.
Yeah? Oh, that's quite interesting.
I live by trees, so I have a lot of ash trees, and I propagate and
Yeah.
collect them.
Oh, nice. What type of tree do you collect?
It's an ash tree. It's like it's kind of like a wisteria leaf pattern, but it's not a vine. It's a hardwood.
And you live close to here or no?
No, I live like an hour away. Yeah, but I have I met a friend at Jonathan, and he always comes to this one, and he always asks me to come to it, so I have to come. I really appreciate that they do this and they keep on. From Belgium, right?
From Belgium, yeah.
That's your garden?
Huh?
That's where your garden is?
Yeah, my garden is in Holland. It's a small city in Belgium.
Okay. Pablo?
11,000 people live in the city. Yeah, but Belgium is tiny, so.
I've been to Brussels and to.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love Brussels. It's actually such a beautiful city, even people don't travel to it as much as they should.
What?
People should travel to it more than they
Yeah, well, Belgium is not that famous, only because of their beers maybe, or and chocolate.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I went to Bruges as well.
Yeah, nice.
Phenomenal.
Bruges is quite small, but quite lovely.
It's for the
to see,
life.
so. Yeah. I can do it either, so, but yeah, also possible. It's not in West Oregon. So.
Well, it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I'll try to one of these years to come out to you.
Okay. Oh, always welcome. Are you already planning to come to Belgium again, or?
I always plan to go to Belgium. Once I went there, I want to come back.
Yeah. Okay. Super. Nice. Yeah. Always send me a message on Instagram or on Facebook, and you can visit me, and you can go for lunch if you want or something. So.
Whatever. I appreciate you coming out. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
You guys are a little hard, I think.
No.
Oh,
I don't think people can ask what they want, so I have no problems with it.
you're very amenable then.
What?
Do you know the word amenable?
No, I have no.
It just means like goodwill.
Yeah, I'm just sharing my experiences, and other people have other experiences, so bonsai can.
You're right.
Bonsai can be different, so for everybody. So why not?
Well, it's very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you as well.
I'll see you.
I'll see you later. Thank you as well. What?
Let me see what you got. Sometimes doing bonsai, because I practice a lot of junk. There are times like when you go somewhere.
Yeah, very hard.
It has like like balance. It depends what they gave you. You know, when they only give you 3 branches on one side, like all of a sudden, you know.
That's true, but we can always grow and graft branches, so that's not a problem. And I wanted to show people that with this material you can also make a beautiful tree, but it needs to look palatable. So.
And I always tell them, you never give up a tree. Or you never notice.
Showing? Yeah. Ah, nice. You have pictures of your showing?
I'll give you one.
You have a lot. Really? You grow them yourself from like in calendars or something like that?
Yes, I don't know a lot because that's the only way you can do it.
What?
But I'm also doing big trees with people. I'm working on this. And
it wasn't a hose. It just went red. It wasn't dripping. It just got hot. I pulled off.
no right for you.
Yeah. So I got, it was a light. Shut it off. Hopefully it could help it.
that was my first tree. I climbed up on the mailbox,
Yeah.
and I dropped the mail like, oh, man, look at and then I collected it.
Nice. Sweet.
And then I told him, I said it to Marlo, hey Marlo, did you
Oh,
like
stand by.
this?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I like showing.
She only
Oh,
gets,
beautiful.
I mean, she only works,
Great.
Because show me,
Big pure contact?
yeah, show me, once you do it,
10 blocks,
it's not money.
turn left.
So I only grow the ones that are like,
Very valuable. Yeah. Good idea. Good idea.
That's normal.
Good job.
Up the hill, yeah.
what's his name, Superhero?
Yeah.
You know my house? The way I see it,
Yeah. Good kunje kobiacie. He was my master.
because he went through here, and then I started street, I went in he goes, why? He's good, and he was, that's my number one student. And I visited his garden, so before he went to LAX, he had 3 hours. And he saw my collection, he was like,
Yeah,
oh my
that was
God,
it.
how many apprentices you
He was-
have? Just by myself.
Yeah. Super. That's great. Super.
And then Tiger once, he came here.
Tiger. Yeah.
And then we were Rondo, it was like 8 months. And then after we're done, we come and talk safe.
Yeah.
And then same teacher, because he's Japanese, and he was Japanese. So we stood up.
Excuse me, Bob, what kind of group was
Very good. Well, Tiger has a lot of choice. So they have big ones.
That's
I even visited him.
Yeah, they're little. Wow, that's nice. Usually the same over there ran way out.
Sometimes like, if I see a grower,
A what?
a grower,
A grower? Yeah.
I can pick whatever I want. And then
I'll talk to Jason. Jason was moving his car, he didn't get access before. I left the house, I took my wife to wash the car. So I left the 3, went over and washed the cars, and, so he texted me on the week. So yeah, I'll get something.
What? No, I already got water and Pepsi.
He's from Puerto Rico. Yeah, I'll have to. I'll have to find out. Oh, there's nothing on it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't either. So I looked up, that was nice you put his website on there. I went on here. Yeah. You'll know when he wins. It's fun. Like I said, he's great for the fun. He gets, he makes his money. Oh, he does a lot. Yeah, we have 5 more minutes. I give him about 15. I give him about 5 more minutes, 15 minutes. Then we get back in. You're not gonna keep going? He doesn't have to. He got much tree then. Yeah, that's what I figured.
We're gonna keep asking you questions.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 9:30 before we get out of here.
No, I hope not. Yeah. Well, are they done with your bathroom? What are they doing up there?
We just finished the plumbing.
It's right here. How they change branches to computer, or you speed wire? This is electrical take the edge.
Where are you coming from?
And I'm relaxed as well.
Yeah. Did you get that squared away with the plug in the garage? Remember, half was on and half was off? Right there?
Yeah.
That was like.
Solid days.
When you strip out the numbers of this. Yeah. Well, same with Noah, like I said, in that panel, they had 3 or 4. Yeah, I thought he said September. I'd have to ask Tom. I think, because he just mentioned it, yeah. Yeah, after school starts.
So at the bonsai fund, I couldn't get it to work.
I think he's gonna go for 2 or 3 days. Right up, stay the night, lines in and back, stay the night. That's different, that's a whole different trip.
He just posted for vacation.
Not really. Guys, call for hot coffee or tea.
My name is Seymour. Seymour Butts.
He's closing down Starbucks. Okay, we're gonna get back at it. Grab some more food, sit down. We'll get Yannick go back and trim up this tree a little more so we don't have to wire much. Okay, so what are you doing now?
So I always work with the first branch and then I work my way up to the top. So I put my first branch into position and then I cut the branch so I will have alternating branches and then I start to wire my branch. And place it as well, and then I work my way up to the top.
finger scissors, those work good.
Yeah. That works the best. So I always work my way up from bottom to top, as I explained before. I'm basically at my first branch. Afterwards, I will do, what's the second branch I will do, or what's the name of that?
Shirley.
Shirley.
Well, maybe it's Karen. I think for deciduous trees it's Karen, for conifers it's Shirley.
No. We have three types of branches. No. Four types of branches and possibly a fifth, but not always. Can anybody tell me that? We've got the first branch. This one I'm going to cut as well.
Running out of time, huh?
Not really. But we always work with 4 branches and in some occasions a 5th branch. We have our first branch. So where's the crayon? Here. Which one's next?
Second branch.
Another name for it.
You got
Number 2 branch.
No.
Secondary branch.
No. Our first branch is always here.
Triangle branch.
What does the other branch here do?
Counterbalance.
Counterbalance branch, yes.
I'm not still called a second branch.
Yes, that's allowed.
We just put that in brackets.
AKA the second branch. On the opposite side.
Yeah, AKA.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, you're actually writing this out.
Next.
The third branch.
Third branch, yes.
Counterbalance.
No,
In between the
Oh,
two.
here, hold
something else.
The rear branch. Back branch.
Back branch, yes, that creates or gives depth.
You don't want to say that word, rear. Could be eye poker. Not too bad.
And last but not least,
Apex.
apex, yes.
I was about to say the fourth branch, but that would make sense.
And what's
And-
the 5th one?
In some occasions, not always, with like a bunjin doesn't have, in some cases it does, but in not all cases.
The tight.
Sorry?
Tight.
No, it's a branch, so.
Jane.
No, front branch,
Oh, front
front branch.
Or an eye poker.
But mostly these ones are quite close to the apex, so.
They'll be shorter and tighter?
What?
They'll be shorter and tighter?
Yes, we work our way to the top and the foliage clouds get smaller and tighter, so the open spaces as well. Here we have bigger open spaces than here, okay?
Yannick, where's the front again?
Sorry?
Where's the front? I didn't get
The front is more or less over here.
Only 4 branches and that's what she said.
Excuse me?
It's 4 types of branches, not actually 4 branches.
Classification.
So this one I removed because here we have our first branch. Then our counterbalance branch should be here. We can use maybe this one, but this one is quite long and this tree is still possible to develop over time, what's better, because it's important to create better movement and work on the tree and create better branching. So this one is better to use. So this one we are going to cut as well. That's why what I mean with simplify, because if you simplify your branch structure and your tree, and if you create more movement, because with this one we can create more movement, and here we can create another foliage cloud, and here we can use a shoot and create more movement into there, and that's how we can develop our tree even better and create more movement into it. A
In
tree-
other words, if you cut it off, you don't have to wire it.
as also, no. I always try to look what's best for the tree, in my opinion, and sometimes try to create more movement. A demo tree not always needs to be finished, and the result will be, or try to make as much as beautiful result as possible. But a tree doesn't need to be finished. So what we can do is we can create counterbalance branch here, and here we can create movement like this. And this already will look like a top, but if one of these we will grow out to go to here and create another foliage cloud here, and we create afterwards a new one over here, and here we will have the top, is also possible.
You can take one of those and make a no-lander branch. Yannick was telling me a story earlier about a Belgian bonsai artist that was doing a demo for Bonsai Focus magazine, and he cut the apex off by mistake. So they wired it back on and taped it back on and wired it and styled it like it was just fine because it was for a photo shoot.
Sure, it happens. People sometimes make mistakes, that's where you learn from, so. So, and if we work our way to the top, then we're going to make our style our foliage clouds, and as I said before, where's the crayon?
Okay.
So we have these branches, and then we're going to talk about how we need to develop our branch. So we start with our primary branch that has movement like this, yes? And we need to give it the same shape. So first we have our primary branch. Primary, how do I write? I-A-M-A-R-I?
Yeah. P-R-I-I-M.
Like this?
Yeah. Close enough.
Okay. Primary branch, yes? From that on, we will get our secondary branches. Is that written right?
It's called CO.
We all know.
Huh?
We know what you mean.
C-O, here. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And it will divide it into two, so we always need to follow the same movement and go out. Here as well, follow the same movement and go out. Yes? And then we have our tertiary branches. I-A-R-Y.
Yeah.
Like this? Okay, thank you. So they start here and go to there, and like more or less like there, 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 okay? And our shape always needs to be like this. Yes? If this is from up top, and the space between is always the same. So we have our primary branch, this line, and it divides it into our secondary branches. And this space is the same. Then we get our tertiary branches and our refinement, and these spaces should be more or less the same as well. And here, the spaces should be more or less the same as well. That's what I mean with simplify. It's not always possible, because with nature it sometimes works a little bit different. But we need to think about this as an image, and we can adjust it a little bit, okay?
And then when you want to push back because it gets too long, how do you do that?
Sorry?
When you wanna push it back because it gets too long?
So a tree, so a shoen will never, how do you need to say it? A shoen will not always be a shoen because a shoen will grow out into a shoen. So a tree needs to grow. With a big size tree, it will grow as well, so our branches will grow out as well. And what we can do if this has grown out, we can cut it back to here, and with one wire, we can wire those branches and put the foliage cloud back together. So by simplifying it and doing it this way, we need to use less wire afterwards to create a dense foliage cloud again. Do you understand?
Makes sense.
Does it make sense?
Erase the one you're gonna take off and then,
This one.
yeah.
If this one we're going to take off because it has grown up to here, yeah? And we wire this one with this one and we bring it back to here, we still have our foliage cloud.
Are you talking about just one branch? What if it's like all of them are like kind of like all extended out?
Yes, but you will always have branches here as well, so we can cut this one, we can cut that. Here will be a branch, so we can cut that. Here will be a branch, so we can cut that. And if we wire this one, and that one together and bring them back closer, we still have the same foliage cloud. It will always be like that. Sometimes it will grow out, but you can always craft something or whatever. So you can just cut it back, put a little bit of wire on it and create the same foliage cloud again. Yes? So that's why we divide. If we have our primary branch, we divide them in two, and two. Because if we don't divide them in two, and two, if we have 3 branches that are coming from the same ones, like if this is our primary branch, and we have 2, 2, 2, 2, then we can cut them back and we create taper. If we have 3 branches on the same spot, we create inverse taper, and that's something what we try not to get.
You mean like this?
I thought that was a good Nibari, but
Still got a nice flare.
My wife might have something to say about that.
then also about the shape of the foliage cloud, like I said, I will shape it like this. And this line needs to be, if this was my pot and would be horizontally, then this would be the same line, you know? Yes. Okay. Does anybody have questions about something?
Speaking of pot, what would you put that in?
This one.
Yeah.
It's more like a Miyogi style tree. I can explain a little bit about pots. So, for example, what kind of pot would you put a bunjing in?
Round?
Round, yes, that's right. And the cascade.
Round or square?
So, a pot that fits into a circle, yes, is for bunjin plus cascading shapes. So that can be square, because it fits into a circle. Can be.
You're one of those guys that put square pegs around holes. Huh?
Yeah.
You're one of those guys that put square pegs around holes.
What's
huh?
pegs?
What dowels? Little piece of wood. You never had that
Ah,
little thing
yeah.
shapes and
No. So hexagonal, octagonal, or how do you?
Yeah, 8 sides.
Yeah, 8 size 6. Yeah. All those shapes. I'm round, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
For bunjing, they should be like. The height should be the size of our trunk. Yes, like for almost every tree, but it depends the dominant size. If your tree is very high, and the foliage is, because normally the size of your pot is 2/3 of the dominant line. So if this is the dominant line, the width, then your pot should be 2/3 of your foliage mass width, okay? If the dominant line would be the height, because the foliage is like this and the height is like that, then because if my foliage is like this and the tree would be like that, and I put it in this small pot, that wouldn't fit. So then the dominant line would be the height, and then the pot should be 2/3 of the height of the tree, yeah? So this one should go in a shallow, is shallow the right word? Shallow pot. Cascade ones should be into a more deeper pot, but also depending the style, because you have Hankangai, and Hankangai, the first branch is until the rim of the pot. Then you have just a Kangai, and that first branch is between the rim and between the feet of the pot. And then you have Dai Kangai, and that one goes all the way and even further, yeah? Then other styles of trees, those pots should fit in a rectangle. Yes? So, what shapes would that be?
Cascade or semi-cascade.
Everything else?
No, what shape of pot would that be? That fits in a rectangle.
Oval?
Oval, rectangle, and?
Square? No.
No.
Slab.
No, this is round. There's another style of pot what would fit as well, but they would also fit with a cascade. And that's a moko shaped pot. And
Like a,
that's a shell, that's something else.
oh, okay.
That's something different. This is like the simplified version of it, yes? So, does anybody know what moko is like? Moko looks like
Like a 4-leaf flower.
something like something like this, and like something like this, more or less, yeah? Right here a line as well. So that would fit with some yogis and stuff like that as well, but also with cascade, and only with cascade that have like an oval shaped head. Yeah? Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, so that would go into a round pot? We didn't decide.
Depends what it will become.
Okay,
If it would become, like, if you would grow the apexes into multiple, or like, if you would grow the tree more, and this would become the apex, and you would let it continue until here, then it will be a miyogi. If you have it like this size, it will still be like a miyogi. Or you can think of it, because it has not that much foliage, as a bunjin. It depends what impression you want to show, actually. So, oval is possible, round is possible if you make a bunjing style out of it. Any other questions?
You had a drawing of the outer edge of the branches was roundish, right? Are there any styles that are other than round like that?
Of the foliage cloud?
Yeah,
Like, how do you mean? Can you draw?
well, more like pointed, like
Oh, straight angles, like, yeah.
this, instead of round?
The foliage cloud?
Yeah.
From up top, or from when you see it?
Well, actually both.
If I see it from this side or from this side?
Both.
Both. I've actually never seen foliage clouds that if this is the branch that they are like this. But I've seen that they are like this. Like Fujikawa in Japan, where Bjorn was a student, they had to shape their foliage clouds like that. it's another way or another perspective of bonsai. It's very more technical. Maybe are there here in America people who style them like that? If you look from the
Sometimes on a chokan style, they do that sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, interesting.
Kind of an old school.
Yeah, kind of old school. Look to it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think it's always interesting to talk about different kinds of styles and how other people or other schools have their own style. Like I had a school with Manuel Germani in Belgium, and he was a student of Taiga Urishibata, and he was very much into creating balance in a tree. So if you have like and also in creating alternating branches, but also having the tree have alternating branches. For example, wait, I'll get this one. So if you would have a tree like this, they would create a tree that's in balance, and at the apex or the head would be in the middle of the Nebari. Yes? I myself was a student of Kunio Kobayashi, and he had a style that was off balance, like the first branch would go to there and the apex would go to there as well. So you have, for me it's very interesting about having that as a school. Also another thing what's maybe interesting is like some, when they style a tree, they style it like a stairway. But for me this looks very natural, and it would be more interesting if you style it like here one, also alternating branches if you create them. So a bit like this. But there is no right or wrong. If someone has an idea about that is for him, that's for natural for him, why not? I guess. Any other questions?
So Lindsay, what did you just show in the CBS show? What was that? Yeah. So the growth pattern of a Hanoki is more like it really likes that rigid kind of triangular shape rather than those rounded foliage clouds.
Well, the ends were rounded, so. Well, it was sort of rounded on top too.
But yeah, but underneath, I mean, everything was like this.
You could see the
Yeah,
branches,
and it had that kind of style to it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot depends on the kind of tree you're growing.
Sometimes, how old it is too.
Yeah, when you have a tree as old as Lindsay. I mean, a tree as old as Lindsay's tree.
I buy them old.
I said that, and then I remembered I was older than you are.
You're older than everybody.
Not quite, there's a few people in this room older than I am. Quite a few, actually.
Yeah.
That's why you like this club so much.
Yeah.
Stepping away from this conversation.
So this tree is still in a
Developmental stage?
what?
Developmental stage?
Yes, that's the word that I was searching for. So if I'm building a tree, and I also make like shoin and colanders and other trees like this, if I want to improve them and make them better in quality. So here needs to grow an apex in the future. So what I do is, if we have a trunk movement, we try to create a movement that fits with the tree, and then we make it like that, because here we already have a branch going like that. So the next one should be here, and then in future we can get a new leader that goes like that, with a branch over there, and so on and so on. Maybe here a back branch, and here a small apex, you know? So now I'm trying to look like that this will be an apex, with here a foliage cloud, and here one, but this one needs to go down a little bit, like that. Does anyone have other questions or something else?
So that one front gym, the large one that's in the front?
This
there?
one, yeah, we will reduce it or remove it.
Oh, okay. Questions from me.
I walked over, I thought it was an eye poker, that's why I walked, I rotated
Yeah.
myself over, I was like, it looks kind of eye poker at that level.
That's true. That's why I want to get rid of it.
A tree in that stage of development, would it be more advantageous to keep it in that kind of pot opposed to putting it in
Yes,
soil?
if you need to have growth, definitely. But I would, if it would be my tree, I would place it in like maybe colander, or maybe in this kind of pot, but without this soil. Because what I always do is,
What kind of soil is it, Paul?
so what I use is, always use is akadama and pumice. Yes? Why do we use akadama? Yes, it's called cation exchange, so CEC. Yeah. And what capacity indeed? What does it mean?
The ability for it to hold atoms or the fertilizers.
Yes, and we have captivity water and gravity water. Does anybody know what that means?
You said capillary water?
Capillary water, yeah, and gravitating, no, gravity water.
Yeah, so capillary is what akadama is. It's got lots of little crevices and stuff, so the roots grow right through it.
Yes.
It holds the water.
It holds the water and then the nitrogen, the nutrients. Yes, that's the right word. What does pumice do? Sorry? It's porous, so oxygen, yes. So if we give water, we have gravity water, and gravity water is what's inside of the pots, but that's not what the roots are picking up. The roots, or the feeder roots, they will pick up what's in the akadama. Yes? Pumice is also quite good because it's porous and it's not too hard, and the roots split because of it. Like lava's quite sharp, and I noticed if I had some olives and sabinas that were put in full mix of only lava, because lava is good because there's iron in it, so it's good to mix it together, but not to completely use it as a full mix. Because there's iron in it, the foliage will turn or have a nice green color. But to use it as a completely, it's quite sharp, so it looks like that the roots will be smashed or cut.
It also holds a lot of water and doesn't
As
leach
well.
so easy.
So it's good to use in a mix, like one akadama, one pumice, one lava with conifer trees or pine trees, stuff like that. Yes. What did I want to tell? Okay, an akadama holds water, like I said. But roots need water. What else?
Oxygen.
Oxygen and nutrients. This tree needs to grow, so it needs to be in a pot, or it can go in a colander, yeah? Some people say, if you have bonsai, this needs to be big size, blah, 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 like this. this needs to be middle size, and this needs to be small size, right? I don't do that. I only use one size for the goal that my tree needs to be in. If I want to develop a tree, or if I have a big tree, I only use big size of Akadama and BIMs. Because then I need to give a lot of fertilizer. I can water quite a lot because it will dry out quite often. But the bigger my my grain size is, the bigger my roots will get and the bigger my growth will be. If I have a big size tree, it's better to put in a bigger size of grain because my needles also don't need to become small. Everything needs to be in proportion. If I have a tree like this size, my needles don't need to be like this, you know? That doesn't look natural. So if my goal is there to grow, then I put them in these size because they get a lot of air holes and a lot of oxygen. If this would be like a room full of basketballs, we would have a lot of oxygen. But if we put ping pong balls together in this mix, and with chopstick we would smash them down, the air holes would be filled with smaller size. So that means that we would have less oxygen, what's not so good for, or less good for the tree. Or do I say it right? Less good? No. Yeah. So that's why. And my goal from the repot until the next repotting doesn't change. So Akadama is quite good because it breaks down, but it breaks down quite fast lately, faster than it used to be. My goal is to have growth so we can put it into a big size of greens, okay? That was the question?
I didn't ask the question.
Oh. Who was it?
Good explanation.
Yeah? Was that clear or?
So as the tree gets more developed and it's time to repot it again, you figure it's got the right size, would you change the soil size to a smaller particle?
Yes. Because then we need to get ramification, and to get smaller ramification and more ramification, it's better to put it in a smaller size, and eventually after some time that Akadama will decompose, is that the right word? Decompose, break down, and then we get finer roots as well and finer ramification. And the more ramification you build, the smaller the needles also will get, not with junipers, but with pines, for example.
And would you also repot less frequently at that point?
It's possible, depending what tree. Some do it to create more wabi-sabi, to create more age into the tree. So that's a possibility, yeah.
Oh, Joe's gonna sweep you away.
Yeah. No problem.
I feel like a movie theater. Okay, it's over. Lights on.
Any other questions?
What's your favorite type of material work when you build them?
I will work on anything. Anything what they give me. My favorite, I don't really have favorites because I like to learn from different kinds of species. What?
You're politically correct.
No. I don't have any favorites. I want to learn really everything about bonsai.
What do you dislike the most?
I like that.
What don't you
like to work on?
What do I, an unhealthy tree. Still politically correct, no?
What species do you find to be the most challenging?
Most challenging?
Good one, we're trying to get to the
That's a difficult one. In Europe, white pines are not that easy because we have we have lately a lot of fungus and we have very wet winters. So in Japan they have like very wet summers, but that's good to create growth because there is a lot of humidity. In Belgium we have very wet winters, so for white pines it's very difficult. They get a lot of, how do you need to say it, fungicides. So, and a lot of people who used to import white pines or who bought white pines, most of them are dead. So if they're not grafted, if they're on own rootstock, if they're grafted with a black pine trunk, they're more easy, but still for some it's still difficult. I have some white pines and they're still alive, so, but they're a little bit challenging because I need to put them, I don't have a lot of space, so I need to, in the winter I need to put them in a greenhouse, or I need to put them in the garage or something for some time, or put them back out in the garage, back out, back in the garage, so that's a little bit tiring. Any other questions? No? What type of trees do you all like to work with?
Healthy ones.
Ones that survive.
That survives in Cali weather.
But surviving as some,
We have a
as
microclimate here.
what?
We have microclimates, you know.
Different kinds of climates and,
Yeah, and very small sections of.
okay. So that's sometimes quite difficult to share knowledge with each other.
Yes.
But there are also different teachers here, no? So you have in every like place you have a few teachers, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of lucky on that part.
Yeah. There's a big, what I think is very interesting here, that there's a big community and everybody helps each other out. And that's quite interesting. It's everybody does a lot for the bonsai communities here, and I wish in Belgium that would be sometimes the same, but there are people who help each other out, but not always. But I think that's probably everywhere, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and it happens to a degree here.
Yeah?
Mostly they're helpful to a degree.
Okay.
You know, the tree's looking, your tree's looking better than yours, that's why.
What kind of fertilizers do you use?
What do I use? Depends on the goal of the tree. If I need to have growth, I use something with a lot of nitrogen in it, so the tree can push a lot of growth.
What do you mean by a lot of nitrogen?
How much? That's difficult because like the numbers on the numbers of NPK, they are the percentage that's in the bag. So if you have a 1755, that means that there's 17% nitrogen, 5% potassium, and 5% phosphorus. Sorry, yes. But that means that the other percentage, so that would be, what did I say, 1755? So that would be 27, correct?
Yeah.
That means that the other
63,
73, 73, yeah. 70%. What?
Never said I was good at math. That's why I don't run the credit cards at the nursery.
Would be other material, like calcium, waste, fill, yeah.
That's a big blame.
Do you like using organic or inorganic?
I use mostly organic and like, how do you call it, like fish emulsion to spray. What's the name in English here?
Fish
Yeah, but I mean liquid. Sorry,
Yeah.
for your feet. But I give them true soil and true foliage.
Wow,
So-
it smells wonderful from your nursery then.
Yes, but I like to use it. I have my own brand of fish emulsion that we did develop with doctors who do marijuana or testings for marijuana and stuff like that. So
What you said was it Cha-ching? Was that one brand Cha-ching?
That's your second job over there.
what?
Yeah.
He said that's your second job over there.
No. No. In our country, marijuana is illegal. So yeah.
Honeycomb?
In the Netherlands, there are shops, but in Belgium, if you carry it, you can get a fine, I guess. So,
You can always go to Holland.
that's true. But now you have to, as a Belgian, you have to have a certain certificate or a pass to legally buy it over there as well.
Oh, you have glaucoma too, I see. Can't see out of one eye really well sometimes.
So I also have my own brand of fertilizer called the Fertipot. We call Fertipad because it's like a coffee pad, and it has to do with this. Sometimes if you use regular fertilizer, it clogs up. If it goes into here, and you can create a root rot for a tree. And a lot of people put fertilizer in tea bags, so that the waste material will not go into your soil. What I developed is something to create more time for people. I want to simplify things and make more time for people, because if you always need to fill the bags, it's a lot of time that's going to waste. So that's why I've produced these Fertipads, so you can just take them out of the bag and put them on your pot. So yeah, that's one that I use a lot because it's my own brand, but also because it's easy. I used to use abracas, you know, abracas or tamahi. I put these in these tea bags and put sphagnum with it, because then it fermentates better, because it touches the soil and the sphagnum, because the sphagnum stays wet. But actually you can use any kind of fertilizer as long as the NPK values are good for what you need to have.
So if you put like a tablespoon of fertilizer in a bag, tea bag, how much sphagnum would you put in there? Equal amounts?
Mostly like a soup spoon or 2 soup spoons, and then sphagnum with it. But it depends which one. If it would be like you have like not the cakes of abracas,
Yeah.
the powder.
Yeah.
I would do like two soup spoons of that, and then the sphagnum, and I would put on top. But mostly all my pot is completely filled with fertilizer. I really fertilize actually quite a lot.
But you're using organic, correct?
Yes. So it's more difficult to.
Absorption rate.
Yes. Okay. So this one can go actually. The styling is finished of this tree. Now this one is going too much to your eye, so we're going to make this one smaller. In the future, it's still possible to create a little shari on it and to make it more impressive if you want. What you can tend to do is already to create now a shari a little bit, like a small line, and follow the trunk line a bit, or follow this line until here and make one until here. Then you let it callus or heal and callus over, and then in 1.5 years or 2 years you can remove the callus a little bit again, and then you will have like these, how do you call it? Layers, yes, that's the right word. That's how they create, mostly with, if they produce shoen or bonsai in Japan, that's how they create chari as well. Any other questions?
The Kobayashi do a lot of shopping?
No, only big trees,
Yeah, that's right.
especially black pines and Satsuki. He was a gymnast before he did bonsai. Quite a famous gymnast. And then he started with another type of plant, what sells quite good in Japan, but I forgot which species it was. It was not bonsai. And then he started with Satsuki because there was a lot of value into that time. And then he went over to other species as well. So he has a very interesting museum and a very interesting pot collection, what's quite nice to see.
Oh,
So,
upstairs.
yeah. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Also in the small pot room?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's
And then he has a lot of tokonomas.
yeah. Every day we had to fill in the tokonoma with the trees, and if people from abroad came, then I had to come and tell them and explain them about the displays, and a little bit about Kado as well. So it was interesting.
You switch out the trees every day in the tokenomics?
No, not every day. Mostly for 3 or 4 days we had the same trees, and then other trees would be filled in the tokenomias and another display. So it was always quite a lot of work over there because he wanted to have everything perfect. So yeah. Okay.
Okay, Yannick, there's a gin right here, looks like you need to work on. Keep,
This one.
no, no.
This one.
No, keep going up, right above. Go right down, right.
What?
The top.
Right there.
Ah, here.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you couldn't see it, yeah. Now that you cleaned everything up, you can see that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Everybody got your tickets in? Last call? Greg, you wanna have, come up and have a pick a ticket? And then we can start moving around.
How will he do it?
It's right, it was Bob.
Stand up for it.
Yannick, you wanna pick one ticket and stick it under the tree?
Okay, but don't look at it. Shove it under it. Just grab one without looking.
Okay.
Just underneath the pot.
Underneath the pot. No, underneath, so you don't see it.
Underneath, don't
We want
underneath.
everybody to see it.
That's right. We don't
It's on
want
the camera, it's okay.
There we go, okay.
It's a good one.
So this is
Hey,
it.
blue one.
Put that screen down so we can see better. There you go. So much for that.
Right there.
There we go.
Is that low? Does it need to be lower?
If we can go lower, need to go lower. There you go. Yeah, that looks better. Much better.
So this is the finished result. In future, these branches need to create more wood, and these fine branches as well. So in future that you will see them rise and that they can carry the foliage. That's very important. So that one day they will stand without wire if it would ever go into an exhibition. Here we still have possibilities, make it or keep it this short and create more foliage cloud here with these branches that that they're still on this branch actually, or you can make it more interesting and let it grow out in what shape the next owner will or wants to have it. Okay?
I'll take a picture later and show you guys
Yeah,
next year.
very nice, thank you.
Ah, yes.